Hi, I'm Shelly Stilger, the owner of Twist Yarn Shop in Wichita, Kansas. I'm going to be casting off stitches on a scarf. Now, I've just got little swatches here. They're not nearly as big as a scarf would be, but it'll show you the basic idea of casting off. There is one way to cast off, just knitting across and casting off, which I'll show you. And then there's another way. If you're doing a pattern for your scarf, like a ribbing pattern, there's a way to cast off in pattern, which I'll show you as well. All right, so your normal cast off would be, you would knit the first 2 stitches of your cast off row, like so. And then with your left needle, you're going to pick up that first stitch you knitted, and you're going to pull it over the second stitch, like so, then pull it off your needle. So that first stitch kind of leapfrogs over the second and comes off the needle. So we've got 1 stitch over here on the right. We need to knit another stitch so that we have 2 stitches on the right needle. And then we're going to pick up the first one, jump it over the second one, pull it off. And there we've cast off 2 stitches. All right, knit a stitch, bind one off. Knit a stitch, bind one off. Okay, so I've gone a few stitches across this row just with a regular knit bind off. Now I'm going to show you how to bind off in pattern. And that means if you're doing a knitting and purling pattern, then you can do your bind off following the pattern. You can knit when you need to knit, purl when you need to purl, and bind off as you go. This is a 1 by 1 rib, meaning I knit 1 stitch and purl 1 stitch. So I'm going to knit the first stitch and purl the second stitch and bind off that way. So here I've got my stitch here ready to be bound off. This next stitch is a knit stitch, so I'm going to knit it, and then I'm going to jump the second one over. And now my next stitch is a purl stitch. So I'm going to purl that stitch and then bind it off. If you have a pattern that says bind off in pattern, this is what it means. It means you follow the pattern knitting and purling, but you bind off every stitch as you get to it. So I did a knit, now I'm going to do a purl. Now a knit, now a purl, bind it off. And I'll show you the difference between these 2 techniques so that you can see sometimes it just makes a little bit nicer finished edge if you bind off in pattern. So here you can see where I just did the regular knitting and how it kind of slants this direction, and you can see all the V's of your bound off row kind of lined up here. And then here where I knitted off in pattern, it's a little more flexible. It follows the pattern just a little bit more. So there's just a little bit of difference, but it's a nice touch to bind off in pattern. Okay, thank you for casting off stitches on a scarf with me.